Greetings to all of our friends and parishioners here at Our Lady Queen of Angels in Newport Beach. Just a couple thoughts as we come forward in this coming week to reflect on the scriptures for this coming Sunday. Now, I hate to admit it, this is almost like a little bit of a confession, but when I was a little younger, I was not adverse to taking a few risks, and not all the risks and dares that I took turned out so well. As a matter of fact, one time I was in the hospital recovering from one of those accidents. The doctor came in after taking a CAT scan and says, "What the heck do you do for a living?" I counted 9 broken bones. And my father, who happened to be there, said, "He's a cheap version of Evel Knievel." We all like kind of taking dares and a few risks along the way. Sometimes they don't turn out so well. But we meet a couple of the characters who took some risks today in the scriptures. One is Elijah the great prophet. We meet him in that first scripture reading, who took on 450 prophets of Baal, the false gods of Israel, and won on a certain level. And then we also meet St. Peter, the rock, who wants to follow Jesus even when it means walking on water. But for Elijah, it didn't turn out so well. While there was a short-term victory, he ends up having to run away and hide, and he discovers something about himself. He discovers something about God in the midst of hiding in a cave. Read into that a little bit. It's a great scripture. The second is of, as I mentioned, Peter, who sees Jesus walking across the water when the disciples are out there in the boat in a storm, and he says, "Let me come out there." And Jesus says, "All right." And he takes a step out into the water to be like Jesus, and he sinks like the rock that he is. But he took a dare, and he discovered something about himself. He discovered something about God in the midst of that risk that didn't turn out so well. We've all been in those kind of situations where we've taken a risk. Maybe we wanted to help somebody, or we wanted to do a new job or career that didn't turn out so good, and we think in a certain sense, "Oh my God, this is the end of my life. This is disastrous, that nothing else can ever happen." And yet, God has not abandoned us. Elijah discovers the voice of God in a whole new way after his fight with the other prophets. Peter, in the midst of his going under, sees the hand of God right there in front of him and takes it. So what do we know about ourselves and the kind of daringness and the risk of faith that we might be needing to take in these days? What's the risk of faith in letting God reach his hand out to us in these times? Something to think about as we go into this week of the scriptures. God bless.